Now that we have our simple chatbot up and running, let's enhance it by adding a setup. This will allow the user to input personal information, which we can use to personalize the chat experience. In the setup, the user should be able to write their name, experience, and skills, and select from given options for level, position, and company. Let's start by adding a subheader to indicate where the personal information should be added. We do this by writing st.subheader. We'll label it as personal information. To make it more visually pleasing, we can add a divider at the end. To do that, write divider equals to rainbow. Save the changes in VS Code and switch to the browser. It looks good. To add a text box for the user's name, we write the following line. Let's break down what this line of code does. The label parameter sets the label of the text input field to name. The max characters parameter limits the number of characters the user can enter. For now, we will set it to none, which means there is no limit. And the placeholder parameter displays a hint within the input field, asking the user to enter their name. Let's save the application and check our UI in the browser. And we see our text box on the screen. Next, we must create input fields for the user's experience and skills. Since these fields require more space for longer entries, we'll use text areas instead of text inputs. Here's how we can set them up. These text areas function similarly to the name input field but offer a larger space. The value parameter sets the default value of the input field, which we'll leave as an empty string. Great. Now, let's run the app. Nice! We have our text boxes in place, but we're not sure if they work as expected. Let's create a label to display the user's input and confirm that the text boxes function correctly. We'll use the write method and an f string as an argument to format our message. Each variable, name, experience, and skills, is placed inside curly braces, which tells Python to substitute those placeholders with the actual values provided by the user. We can also add 2 asterisks at the beginning and the end of our text to make our labels bold. Let's test it. For the name field, we'll type Alex. For experience, let's enter 2 years as a data scientist. And for skill, we'll add Python. And it works! Next, we need to add the fields for company and position separately. To start, let's add another subheader. And again, we can add our signature divider. To enhance the user interface, let's organize our layout into 2 columns. To do this, we index them as 1 and 2 and use the columns function to specify the number of columns we want. In our case, we'll create 2. In the first one, we'll add radio buttons for the position level, junior, mid, or senior. We'll use a with statement to access it and define its radio button logic within it. Here's how it looks. In this setup, the level variable will store the selected option. We call the radio function to initialize the radio buttons. Inside this function, the first parameter, choose level, is a label displayed above the options to prompt the user. Next, we use the key parameter and set it to visibility, which can help maintain the widget's state across interactions. Finally, the options parameter provides the list of choices available for selection: junior, mid-level, or senior. For the position selector, let's create a drop-down menu in the second column. Once again, we'll use a with statement to access the second column. This time, we'll assign the selected position to the variable position using the select box function. Now, we'll define more choices. This will allow users to select their position from a predefined list of options. These are data scientist, data engineer, ML engineer, BI analyst, and financial analyst. Finally, let's add another drop-down menu to select a company. This time, we won't place it inside a column. Once again, we'll use the select box function and enter a few company names as options. Let's go with Amazon, Meta, Udemy, 365 Company, Nestle, LinkedIn, and Spotify. Looks great. Let's test if it works once more by displaying the selected values with the label. Great! Now that we have the setup, let's connect it to the chatbot. Head back to the code where we initialized the system message, also known as the prompt. Remember the prompt template we defined and tested a couple of lessons back? We can replace the existing system message with that template here. Good job. Let's test the application. First, save the file and refresh the page. The complete layout looks great. Now, let's test the setup by entering some dummy data. Again, our name will be Alex. We have 2 years of experience, and our skills include SQL and Python. We'll select Senior, Financial Analyst, and the company Spotify. The setup appears to work as expected because the labels display all the variables we've defined. Now, let's test the chat by asking, "What is my name?" Unfortunately, the chat doesn't know our name, so the setup information hasn't been passed to the system message. The model has no knowledge about our setup. This is because the user inputs for name, experience, skills, level, position, and company are not dynamically updated or incorporated into the session state after they're initially set. In other words, while they're captured and displayed in the setup stage, they're not actively passed to the session state or the chatbot during the conversation. Therefore, we must store the user's input in the session state and update it dynamically. We'll do this in the next lesson.